It's a typical afternoon of training. Rain or shine, this is how Steely gets her fitness on. Her trainer Nico has an entirely new set of exercises for Steely that make a typical boot camp look like a walk in the park. The focus now is all about carving out the perfect figure for bodybuilding competitions. It all started in a boot camp with Nico, but it wasn't too long before Steely eased through those workouts and wanted to kick things up a notch. But like many other women this trainer has worked with, he did notice that she also had some inner work to do first.
One of the biggest challenges I found with Steely, which was actually the same challenge that I find with all my female clients, is that they have this insecurity about themselves. It's this personal thing. It just could be the image that the media is trying to perceive. It could be anything from the haircut to a crooked tooth to a little bit of fat around the arm. But the biggest thing I found about Steely is her strength that she had inside to overcome a lot of these things.
The transformation on the exterior means having to exercise inner strength to a whole new level. Months of sweat and tears was required in order to go from a regular boot camp class to being a world-class bodybuilder.
Bodybuilding, fitness, figure, all of these competitions are extremely taxing to the body. I've myself competed in bodybuilding, and trust me, when you have to eat chicken, rice, and cucumbers, and it gets to the last week where all you're eating is chicken and cucumbers, it is very hard. You are working out 1 to 2 hours a day, probably more like 2 hours. It is very taxing on the body, and you're actually diminishing all the nutrients in the body because you're not really intaking any nutrients. So to have the mentality, the mental focus, to push yourself through these boundaries is very, very huge.
Aside from completely changing her diet and her lifestyle, a couple of hours of training every day looks something like this. Now, warning, watching this workout may leave you feeling exhausted and a bit inspired. This extreme level of working out for someone who battled eating disorders for years is a complete overhaul for the mind, body, and soul. However, some experts may look at this as a transfer of addiction, from trying to be too thin in an unhealthy way to now being obsessed with being fit. But Steely's trainer has a different take on this.
I don't think it's necessarily a transfer of addictions. I think it's the individual trainer or coach that makes the difference. As in, if you believe in the spirituality of what you do, and I believe that it is inside what you really need to change, because your body will always transform, and eating is something that you have to do, but it's knowing inside spiritually that you are becoming a better self more than anything else.
So how does the average person get to this level? Step 1, you got to toss out all those excuses. Step 2, make fitness a priority. And step 3, start by setting simple goals and get a sense of accomplishment going as soon as you start.
As soon as you're done that workout, you're like, oh man, that was so perfect. I can't believe that I almost didn't even go. People feel better when they move, and it always feels better when it's done. It's just getting to it. So if more people could just get to it, get to that walk your dog, take your kids for a walk, just take yourself for a walk. If people could just get through that in their day, and it doesn't have to be an hour, it could literally be something like 15 minutes, they would notice that they would feel a lot better about themselves.